what to write about. Trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist. Am I worth anything or just discount? I don't know.
That was the great sounds of Watts Up with Outside on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, with my partner in crime, Long Island raised, Elm City made, EZ BlueZ is in the building. EZ BlueZ, you're better with introductions more than me. Who do we have with us today on Behind the Brand?
Ladies and gentlemen, we can go as far back as Lester Bang, talking about the courage to be a drunken buffoon that is the Guess Who. We can sit here and have a million conversations about taking a walk into the ocean so that that photo of Roger Daltrey's eyes are just above the water for that amazing Rolling Stone cover. We can sit here and wax on over and over that Kurt Loder, before he sat at a desk and talked to artists on MTV, had interview after interview, review after review, telling us not only what they thought was good, but was actually culturally relevant. Actually sat there and told, yes, I say all the time that as musicians, we are the heralds, and we take what is going on in the world and we project it, the prism of our heart, into everyone else. But behind all of that, you also have these people that fight tooth and nail to make sure that your stories can get out there. So as usually we celebrate the musician, I also want to celebrate those that tell their stories. So I want you to put your hands together, not if you're driving. If you're driving, please keep your hands at 10 and 2. We don't need any accidents. But mentally, put your hands together for the amazing Sam Hadelman. Bro, how are you? Welcome. Bienvenue.
Hey, how you doing, man? I love that intro. I was trying not to blush.
Well, we appreciate you. We appreciate you. We appreciate everything you do. You have a very, very interesting story because you were also on here before we were on here. You were, telling the stories of New Haven before other people had that opportunity, and kind of paved the way for people like Prestige and myself to do stuff like this. So I want to thank you for that, first of all. High five, and here's some flowers. But how did you get into the whole music journalistic aspect of life?
Wow, it's a weird story. I never like put two and two together that I could actually like do it. Like nobody ever told me like you could work in music media. I'd also like, a lot of people get confused. I'm like a publicist now. I used to be a journalist. I've gone over to the dark side. But yeah.
Why you say the dark side?
That's what people say in the industry. A lot of people who like end up being music writers end up being music publicists.
Oh, yes, but from an artist point of view, to be honest with you, you've actually gone over to the light side. Because 9 times out of 10, especially like coming from like the late 70s into like today, it's become a lot more palpable. But for a while, getting a bad music review was like either getting a pat on the back or getting destroyed. But a publicist is there to build you up and help you grow. So I mean, from a musician point of view, you kind of go a little bit more over to the light side than the dark side. But that's just my humble, not so humble opinion.
Thank you. That's cool. Yeah, I never planned on it. When I was a kid, I would subscribe to Rolling Stone and I would like stay up all night reading that. I would read any book I could grab my hand on, Kurt Cobain's handwritten notebook, Tupac books, Biggie books. I'd read every Lil Wayne interview I could get my hands on. And I had no idea how this process even came together. I was like, man, like, how do these people who write about this stuff know about all this, whoop-de-woo. And yeah, I started at the Independent, as you noted. I was kind of like writing about like lifestyle stuff. And then I was like, man, maybe I should start going to concerts because I love Toad's Place and I go there a lot. And I ran it up with Paul Bass, who like was super integral in the process, like someone probably like the best person to look up to in media that I've ever met. And yeah, that's kind of just like where it started. I started just like reviewing shows and reviewing concerts, and I did like 3 concerts in 2 days for the Independent. And I had my like little notebook and my camera. And yeah, I always really liked local journalism, because I think that's, even like as a kid, I could realize like that's really where the motion happens. I think on like a larger scale, a lot of things fall through the cracks, especially when you're from like not a New York, LA, Atlanta, Miami, like you're from New Haven.
Right.
Like there's such like a strong cultural community here, whether you like salsa or world music, the rock, rap, DJ music. It doesn't matter. You could go any, like there's so many like different avenues and venues and so many cool people doing their thing. And I was like, man, no one's really telling the story. Like, why don't I try to be that person?
Right.
So that's kind of how it started.
Interesting. Like the life
Now,
of a journalist never ends. But go ahead, Easy.
Well, no, it definitely does not end. But what's really super interesting is you've taken those stories and now you've jumped into a completely different side of it. You know, you jumped the gun in saying that you're already lit, but that's fine. We're fine. We like to let the story evolve a little bit, but it's fine. But you know, how do you go from now writing these reviews and you know going to these 1.5 million shows to you know the life of a publicist? And first of all, for the people playing the home game, what is a publicist?
A publicist is someone who works as the middleman between you and the media. So, for example, if a track's coming out, for like the few days I like hit people up and I'm like, hey, the song's coming out. Here's the story. Da da da. Whoop de woo. You know, if it's like a rap song, I might hit up Complex, Hot New Hip Hop, places like that. If it's maybe more like a rock song, I'm gonna go to like Flood or like different publications, Grimy Goods. And I set up interviews in person. I set up video interviews, podcasts. And actually most of my job is actually curating the roster. So like I go out and I like find acts that I'm really passionate about. And I'm like, I always try to find people who like live at the intersection of something really weird, where it's like they're this, but they're also that. And that's like really where you need someone like me to step in and send a bunch of boring emails. Like that's basically my job, is boring email guy. But yeah, to go back to how it like all came together, there was one article that I wrote that got like a lot of notoriety, and like people still come up to me and talk to me about it. Like you see me, if you don't know me and I run into you in New Haven, I'm like, I wrote this article, and they're like, oh, you're that guy, and I'm like, yeah, I'm that guy. The Snowsa article. I don't know if you guys got to peep that before. I like Snow is probably the biggest rapper to ever come out of New Haven, ever. And a huge inspiration for everybody in the city. And she had this record, Yank Rhythm, that was really popping off. And I like TM'd her at like 3 p.m. the day before my WNHH show. And I was like, hey, do you want to come on and do an interview? I'd never interviewed anybody in my life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was like, this girl has a really hot record, a really interesting story. I know the block she's on. Like, why not try to talk to her? And she was like, yeah, sure, I'll come in. And of course, I had the 10 a.m. slot, and like rule of thumb, asking any rapper to do anything before noon, you're praying, thoughts and prayers. They get to run on a way different time than we do. And I'm saying that with positivity, not negativity. I'd love to do all that. But she came in, we did our interview. It went spectacular. Her and I like have a really good repertoire. And she's like, hey, I'm having this video shoot at Bridgeport at this club with Young M.A. She's going to do the remix. And for those who are not familiar, Young M.A. is one of the bigger independent tri-state rappers like of our time. That time she had a big record called Ooh. You guys remember that? And I love Young M.A. I was like a Young M.A. super fan. And yeah, so I was like, of course I'll come. And me, like when it came to like music gigs, I always try to be early. So I showed up to this club in Bridgeport at 3 p.m. Shoot starts at 3:30. I'll never forget. It was me, 3 dancers, and a bunch of plates of wings. And I had like my notebook, I had my camera, I had a tucked in collared shirt, I had khakis on. I was like way too prepared for the venue I was at. And all of them pull up, Snow shows up. They had like a shoot at Eddie's in the Hill, if you guys know that spot. And she pulled up The young MA shows up. I take pictures. I talk to Snow's mom. I talk to young MA security, and I end up talking to young MA, but I found out that I didn't really understand the process of like you can't just pull up on a rapper and ask him questions.
Right.
He's Snow's manager, who I'm like cool with now. He was like, "Yeah, man, they really want to whoop you," because I was like, like her security, which is like
oh
a
my
huge.
goodness.
Yeah, I had no idea. He was like, "Yeah, I had to talk to them to let you interview her because they did not appreciate how crowded you were." Because I was a kid. I was like 19.
Yeah.
But Young M.A. was spectacular. Management's fantastic. That's just security's job, which is fine. And so I put the article up. I work on it real hard, take the pictures, and it ends up going up. And people start recognizing me or like talking to me or at least knew my name. And that's really where like the music criticism journalism thing started. Was pretty much from that piece.
It's funny where life can take you, huh?
Yeah. Me and Snow are still real cool. She's still a real good friend of mine.
And it's not just rappers with the whole time deadline. It's just musicians, period. Easy can just agree with me. It doesn't matter if it's hip hop, rock, techno, no matter who
drummers,
you schedule, drummer. Oh Lord, Jesus!
love him to death, love him to death, and not gonna call him out on it, but he knows. He knows.
You know, we don't want to call these great artists out either. It's just how it is. I bet in their system, no matter the genre.
Keith Moon did not show up to a 9 a.m. interview.
No, Keith Moon did not. Well, he would only show up because he was on his way home.
Yeah. No, but I love that for them. I mean, I feel like a lot of musicians don't get into this for a 9 to 5. So
no, it's their own wave. It's their own wave.
And I seriously, I know that sounds catty, like when people say that, like, oh, musicians start their day at noon. No. I know I'm jealous. This is me being jealous. I'm not. I love that life for them. I don't want them to have to wake up at 9 a.m. and drink blueberry tea. Like,
right, but see that's the other thing that people don't understand. Like, oh, musicians, will get up at noon and they'll start the day at noon. That's because like we went to bed at like 6. And it's not because we were out partying or something like that. Yes, very points in time we probably were, but there's also those nights that you're up writing. There's also those times where, that one hook or that one line doesn't get out of your head unless you take, I've sat down and I've laid down staring at the ceiling with a single hook line running through my head over and over and over again until about 3 hours in where I'm like, fine, I'm just going to write it down and then I'm going to go to sleep. And then 4 hours later, I've got a finished song. And then I still have to, be at work at 9 o'clock in the morning or, do what's necessary. So, I love the musicians that are successful enough that they can not get up at noon, but there's also that hustle aspect of like, you kind of look at it like you're a Spartan, you will dine in hell tomorrow to make sure that the battle is fought really, really well today. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And that was a good other point I'd like to highlight, especially with New Haven musicians. Like a lot of people have really regular jobs while they're doing that. I think that's crazy. Like I could never, ever like even consider balancing like doing a 9 to 5. And then when I get off, like trying to be like real creative and introspective and going on Logic and stuff like that. Like I could never, that's so crazy to me. I think that's the coolest thing on planet Earth, especially that's why I still really like local musicians. Like I got really inspired by this magazine in the DMV called True Laurels. It was by this guy, Lawrence Burney, who used to be a writer at the Fader. And he would just do like big editorial spreads just about his city. And that was kind of my thing. It was like with New Haven, especially with the Independent, like everything's so hyper local. I still read the Independent every day. I have a secret account. I argue with old people on there. I swear, like in the comment section.
I knew it was you. I knew it.
Yeah, I love pissing off the 60+ crowd. I'm just like, actually, you didn't consider. I love doing that. You can ask about me, like, and yeah, I just wanted that for the music scene because there's so like the problem is and like when you have a city like New Haven, there's nowhere else for that story to be told. Like there's rappers in here who are hometown heroes. There's rappers in here that like really put like Ty Henney, for example, like he's a hometown hero. The guy
Right.
has been rapping for 15 years. He brought G Herbo to the city. He like he's like the man. Like if you don't if you're from New Haven, you like rap music, you should know Ty Henney. But there wasn't like exactly like an outlet for something like that. So all I ever tried to do was make sure that the stories like that could get told, like Snow, Ty Henney, the late Mango, Young Clean, like that was cool. Not to get to like a serious note, but not cool. But I thought that it was an interesting moment to see how like actually something I did was tangible and worked. Was are you guys familiar with Young Clean and that whole situation that happened over the summer?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, when the Indie did their article, they like referenced some of the work I did for the New Haven Arts paper.
Okay.
They were like, yeah, me and Mango were real close. I call him like every week to like check in, talk to him about the music, give me some basketball tips. He was like a fantastic young man with a beautiful story and so talented. I mean, he really could have. Everybody says everybody could have been the one, but he was the one. He was like the man. You know what I mean? You couldn't walk around the block without someone saying hi to him or going to the basketball tournaments or something like that. So to see like a story could have been told one way about what happened, but instead it was told like with detail, and they had like Paul actually like looked at what I wrote and talked about his music in a really compassionate and sensitive way. That was really cool for me. That was like one of the most rewarding things. Like the piece in general, even before we passed or anything like that, that was super rewarding to me because that's a dude that like maybe a local reporter might not be hip on. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it was really cool to like tell his story in the first place. But then like unfortunate, of course, but like to have that part of his story told with his passing, I was like, I'm grateful that it came out that way and not the other way.
No,
Definitely. It was a good sense of appreciation.
Yeah, like yeah, a lot of the times when people pass and there's like media coverage around it, especially in that form or fashion, the focus is on the actual like methods of passing. And this and Paul, and what Paul is so good at is that he didn't make it about that. He made it about his life, his legacy. He talked to his basketball coach. He like wrote about his music and because Paul likes rap. Don't get it twisted. Paul likes rap. Like yeah, but yeah, that was cool. That was like a real tangible. Sorry, I've been ranting.
No, it's okay. That's the life of just being impressed, no matter if it's local or mainstream. You will get into rants and a lot of rambling, but it's okay because it's informative. Tell me about Cut Break. What's that about?
Okay, I when I was in college, and this actually leads really well into my point. When I was in grad school, I went to grad school at Fordham. I went to undergrad in the middle of word I can't say on the radio, Florida. I went to school, and the college I went to was named after a hat. It was Stetson.
Okay.
And I ended up somehow getting into Fordham, and I did my master's. They needed me to do like a senior thesis, and I was having an issue like writing about things that maybe were too particular to my taste when I was in New Haven, which is, you know what I mean? Like, and it wasn't even, I'm not saying on like them or the acts, it just like wasn't lining up. So I was like, in my own, I'm very good at this. I was like, man, I'll just do my own thing. And I had the time, I had the bandwidth. I knew a couple really talented writers like Roy Gagliardi, who we were actually friends when we were kids and we connected for this. And I knew a really cool designer from my days at my school newspaper where I was the music writer. And so I assembled like a lot of really cool New Haven or Connecticut musicians. And I was like, man, what if there was like a place where everybody's story could be told across the board? And it was inspired by that True Laurels thing I was talking about with Lawrence Burney. I'll send you guys the link. It's really cool. I basically just wanted to make my own version. And I was like, man, like this would be so cool. So I was the editor. I picked the stories. I took a lot of the photos and it was dope. It was like the first digital edition. I got an A+, by the way. And yeah, a lot of people, it got like a really good response. A lot of like bigger writers like retweeted it. Like it was crazy. It was like a really cool day. And then kind of like after that, when I graduated, there was like a little time where I just did not have a solid gig. I was working at the arts paper. I was doing pieces for Lucy Gelman, who is also one of the most integral pieces of New Haven. Probably the coolest person I've ever met in my life, Lucy Gelman. She is so sick. Her and Tom, two coolest people, cooler than a polar bear's toenail. And yeah, so I was doing that. And I was teaching science in like New Haven with little scientists. I was like doing like summer school classes, and I was like kind of all over the place. And I was like, man, what if I did this again, but I made physical issues?
Right.
And so I did that. I was like, I made a second issue. We talked to like Trey Moore from New Haven. You guys know Trey? Everybody knows Trey. Yeah, my mom taught Trey. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, small world.
Yeah, it's funny. I like every time I do something in New Haven, and that's also another real and not to. I'll get back to it. But another integral part of like this whole thing is that like my dad's been in New Haven since 1944. My mom is a Spanish teacher, a local Spanish teacher at a high school, and I look kind of like both my parents. Right. So, like, this is a good story. We had I'm forgetting his name. He was the arts director of New Haven for a while. He came in one day for an interview because I was a radio tech first. I wasn't even on the radio. Me and Harry worked together. I didn't even. It's not like I started independent to get a radio show. It just kind of like happened. This dude came in, and he looks at me and he goes, "Is your grandma Dora?" And I've never met my grandma. I didn't meet her because my parents are older. Right. And I was like, "Yeah, that's my grandma." And he was like, "Your grandma taught me how to dance when I was a kid in New Haven, and you look just like her." And that was the scariest thing anyone's ever said to me. I was like, "This is terrifying." So yeah, I'm like a real New Haven guy, and that's like how I knew Trey. Everybody knew Trey, and so I put together this issue. I sold like 100 copies, and then unfortunately that week I got my gig as a publicist. So I like just didn't have the bandwidth to do another one. I always had this idea of like, if there's ever like an aspiring music writer, I would just give them the game of how to make a magazine for Connecticut. Because I think the story should be told. There's so much cool stuff going on. I still like, if I pull up to New Haven, I'm grabbing every Instagram of every rapper who I could possibly talk to. I don't care if you're bad. It's fine. Everybody's bad when they start. You know what I mean? You can get good. You can get good. It's fine. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like,
it's kind of like the attitude we have on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island Rays, Elm City May, EZ Blues is in the building. We got a WNHH LP alum, Sam Hadelman, is with us on Behind the Brand. And Sam, hold on, I didn't lose your train of thought. Go right ahead, sir.
You're all good. Yeah, kind of like Easy we were talking about. There's like so many good reporters at the Indy now. Like Maya McFadden, man, I love everything that she does for the Indy. She's telling us like local stories. Like she gets nitty gritty. She gets like hangs out with the kids, hangs out with the old people. Like she's telling all the little stories that like I'm interested in. It's like taxes are cool or whatever, but I want to hear about the stuff that like affects the day to day. And yeah, I think before that there was like a real space for me to do what I needed to do, but I feel a lot more comfortable with like people like her behind the pen. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So I think I definitely don't have I barely have bandwidth to drink this tea, but I love the experience of putting together a magazine. I had a couple dudes help me out. Sean Murray, who's like a local comedian, and he's super funny, and not in like I'm not just saying that because I know him. He's like genuinely one of the funniest people I've met. Very talented. And he was actually the co-editor of the second issue. Yeah. Him and I would like hang out at the Owl Shop and like just edit stuff because the Owl Shop was my office for like 6 months.
That was your office.
Yeah, it was a terrible idea.
How in the world did you ever pay attention in there? My God. It's the best. No, and during the day. It's just, during the day, because the nighttime I went by there, it's a madhouse. It's crazy. No. It was just me and a bunch, me and like a bunch of like vets. Like literally like, yeah.
Yeah, it's literally all the people who were in the owl shop, which is a
Okay.
terrible idea because I have asthma. But I loved it.
Oh my
word.
God. You did not do that.
Sir.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean it was like the only place where like there weren't like kids. Like it was so quiet, and the lattes are good, and the paninis
Yeah.
are straight. Yeah, it was like my favorite. It's still my favorite. One of my top 5 favorite places in New Haven is the Owl Shop.
Right.
But yeah, sorry, I've been ranting a lot.
No. I'm enjoying story time. I really am.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because you say Sean Murray. Sean Murray is a great storyteller when it comes to him going on stage too. So it's like yin and yang goes. So
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying just being on the backside of the seat with this one. But easy. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, no, you're not interrupting at all. I'm hoping that everyone's playing the home game just really listen to what Sam said.
Mhm.
He literally said, if there is a music journalist out there right now that is listening, you can hit him up and he's ready to give you the keys to the castle to tell that next story and that next evolution, And I love, again, how you, in your own story, are able to highlight one of the beauties of New Haven is how interconnected everybody really is and how interconnected, the music scene truly is, where there was a moment in time you would go to school and if you got into the tag program, you were being taught by a relative of Thelonious Monk,
What?
You didn't know that? Miss
I,
Marcella Flake is related to Thelonious Monk, along with her son, who I'm sure you've seen perform.
yeah.
The Monk family is huge out here, huge. We've had a couple of Monk family members on this very show, so it's been super 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 interesting. But that's one of those amazing stories that is so important for New Haven. And considering we are trapped between 2 larger markets, it be the Boston market and also the New York City market, we get overshadowed a lot. But here you are being able to shout the praises. Now, is there going to be an avenue where you can figure out the bandwidth to kind of do both? Because obviously you're killing it at your career and what you're doing at that point, but you still seem to have so much love to want to shout the praises of New Haven. I'm just wondering if there's a new chapter.
I'd rather just be the guy who you don't know who like just makes moves. I'd rather just be that guy. Like I'll still call people up. I like do my job because I don't need anybody knowing who I am, man. I'm so good. A publicist's job is to not be famous. So I never, you know what I mean? I'd rather like help out the people I can help out, still peep what's going on. I mean, also speaking of interconnected, I think this is kind of a funny story that I found out that Trey Moore and Mango used to play ball together. Like back in the day, they were both aware of each other, which is funny because like Mango was like, "Yeah, Trey's hard," and I was like, "What?" Like, I don't know why I didn't realize that Trey could ball. Like he told me that they used to play basketball together. And I was like, "Man, that's so cool." No, I mean, I think that it would just be like you need someone who's real dedicated and has the time to tell these stories. Like there's so much more than what I can deliver. Like there's probably some kid out there that just doesn't know, like, hey, you can go to the areas that other reporters won't go, talk to the people other reporters won't talk to. I'm not saying about New Haven, I'm saying in general. You can go out there, you can tell your own local story. Like people should have, if people had reported on like Dumb and Out or like, you guys know, if people had talked about that more, like we just missed TikTok. People had talked about that more, there'd be more documentation about it. Actually, there is still a TikTok for it. It's
There's a Dumb and Out challenge. I remember. Right?
Yeah, no, it's still out there. It's like
It's
the CT 860 dance or whatever. They have like their own Instagram pages, and these high school kids like challenge each other. They'll like be like Waterbury High can't dance like Harvard, and then they all dumb out and stuff. I won't do it on camera because that's crazy. But it's cool to see. I like to pay attention. I like to be in a position of music where I can like just finesse stuff. I think articles and write-ups are beautiful, I just don't think it's my role right now, especially not someone who like actually is going to be living in New Haven.
Mm.
But there's even like the designers. There's Deuce, there's Dead by 5 a.m. There's so many cool things like going on. Like I wear a lot of Dead by 5 a.m. Just I'm always asking for local clothes, and people are always asking me where I get my clothes from. Dead by 5 a.m. Deuce. Dwayne, he works at the Neville Wisdom Shop. Two of the most talented people working in the city. There's so like that's why I did Cut Break, was because there's so many stories, and I was like, man, how does nobody like know about this outside? But Dwayne got a nice write up in the indie, which is cool. But yeah, I think that there will be hopefully another space for like someone who's just like good with words and can take pictures. And as the time, I'd love to help out. If you're listening, I'd love to help you out. You can hit me up whenever.
But you're seeing everything just grown now. I mean, like the names that you just mentioned, they are getting credibility now. It has to be a great feeling, though, you know? Just seeing all these great names, all these great people getting their recognition now, getting their flowers now, getting their articles on New Haven Independent now. And it's not just New Haven Independent, other local, articles within the city. So, you're seeing a culture evolve as we go on. Like we can never imagine this like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, because like New Haven kind of felt like it was like a stepchild. We were doing all these moves, but there was no recognition. Now we're starting to see just a little bit of recognition here and there, just with platforms like this, shows like you're on right now. We're starting to see these little things just form out. And it's a great feeling. It really is. Can it get better? Yes, it can. It's just, we just have to see it happen. Right. And your job as a publicist is getting, these artists, getting these names out there. So do you consider yourself the glue, and will you forever be the glue?
Yeah, I'd love to be the adhesive. That's like yesterday I had this act from Detroit who is really cool, and he's dope, and he's pretty big, and I like reached out to the Metro Times because I was like, man, it'd be cool to get a piece about this guy in the Metro Times. Like I did the same thing for an artist I work with from Atlanta. I was like, man, I would love to see him get an Atlanta Journal-Constitution write-up, because I think at a certain point I'll always get back to like local reporters. And I just had to do from Orlando, and I set up something with Orlando Weekly. Like I love hitting up local reporters and like setting that kind of stuff up. And on the New Haven tip, I would just like to be a dot connector. Like it was cool that like the other night Sholey had a show, Sholey and Friends, with like Snow at the State House, which is a shame that the State House is closing.
Okay, first of all, were you there? Because I work in that. I work there.
Oh, is that what? Yeah, no, I couldn't come out because of the whole apartment hunt thing. I was so mad about it.
Yeah.
But how'd it go?
It was fun. What I really loved, just from a promoter point of view as well. I love that it was treated kind of like an entire night of a mixtape, where he performed when it was time for music to start, he took the stage. And you had a lot of promoters like, I don't understand what's going on, but as you watch it, he would call up other acts. So to me, it was like a living, breathing mixtape. And I think it's a format that should go places and could go places, especially in hip hop. I think it's something that would be really, really, to take a show like that and put it on the road would be huge, especially like say you go, you keep 2 or 3 spots open for some of the local acts, and then you take that on the road. So that you're constantly having this evolving, and then also your show is never the same. So that show you played Friday is not the same show you're going to play on Monday. It's a totally different artistic point of view and perspective as well. So I'm already looking at a million and different ways to sell that type of show. Just saying, we got ideas.
Yeah, no, good, because Sholey's like a top tier lyricist, and he is like no funny word I can't say on WNHH.
Yes.
He can really rap. And Snow is still like a creative wizard. There's so many but first off, it is a shame that the State House is closing. And I'd like to highlight that because that's a huge part of it. They actually interviewed me about this at the Yale Daily News. about like the concert economy. And let me explain, and Easy, you probably know too, but I'm saying on a hip hop tip, why it's so hard to become a established act in your city. When you're down south, you can play clubs, you can play strip clubs, you can play nightclubs, you're getting paid out of pocket, you're getting like straight up cash, you do like club performances, 3 songs, dip at 2 a.m. And you get to get like a notoriety in a local circuit. That's why the South is so much easier than New York. In New York, to get big, you got to make records of you hanging out in the street, rapping. You got to like make sure that everybody knows where you're from. But in Connecticut, there is no venue outside of like the State House, Cafe 9. There is no like place for you to perform if you're an early act, unless you get 8 other acts to all come together and you all are like getting paid really low money on that show. Like, there is no like meeting hall. So that's why I love State House. State House was so cool because it was like a small show. It was a small venue. Everybody would pull up there. Jay Critch showed up. Lil B showed up. Like Sholey and friends. I've been pitching that idea for like 3 years. I was like, man, get everybody. I told everybody, I was like, just get all of you guys together, because of course it's going to be tough to sell a show if it's just you. But there's so many talented acts, like Dusty Stay True from New Haven. He's incredible. We even like, there's like so many talented acts that you could just do what you said, kind of like a mixtape circuit. But man, I wish more of these venues would just book rap, like point blank period. Like just book more rap. Obviously Toads is still like the GOATs. That was like my first rap concert was Toads.
Yeah, of course.
I just wish that there was, of course they can't have nightclubs in New Haven because people might picket. Like there's nowhere to like start your career. Like that's why I thought journalism was such a good outlet, because I was like, you can't challenge that. You can't like, I could write this article, I'm gonna prove I'm right, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's different than like booking a club or booking a show or that, you know what I'm saying? It was something that was tangible and real.
Yeah, from a local standpoint, yeah. Like, I know how you're saying you're not trying to disrespect Toad's place. Like, that was your first rap concert there. But like, they're mainly catered to a mainstream level. But when it came to State House, just bringing everybody together. And one thing I love about State House is the architecture. Is when you like go in there, it was perfectly designed for the artist. Like when you walk in and you see like that great stage, and you know, even though I've been there a couple times, you know, I'm not trying to, you know, I can't think of the word right now, but when you go in there, it's such a great feeling. It was catered to the performer when you go out there. It really was. And when you go in there, it's a more inviting community, the State House as well too. So like if you're going to a genre that you may not know about, as soon as you open that door, you're gonna get that experience. And Easy, would you agree?
No, 100%. I stayed all the time. The State House is the only multicultural venue in New Haven. And when I say that, I'm not, people can come for me. And again, if you have any hate mail, feel free to send it to Preston, because I don't care. But at the end of the day, you know, I have worked at the State House during a week that there was a klezmer music night, which is all traditional Yiddish music. There was a punk rock drag show, Steve Rogers release party, and an indie rock night. The following week after that, Little Eazy-E came through. And it's the only venue that has that. We are also the only venue that caters to local hip hop and R&B. One of the last shows there, and I better see you there, Sam. Clear. I'm not going to say when it is, but I will say that I believe it is around Memorial Day weekend. We're having the Jam. You know, and anybody who does not know what the Jam is, it is every incredible R&B gospel musician that is in New Haven or around New Haven get together and go on stage and just play music and get completely lost in just playing music. It is one of the most incredible experiences you're ever going to believe in who you want to believe in, but you will meet your God and your maker that day, and you will understand how beautiful New Haven is. But you know, that's just me.
I'm in there like swimwear. That sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me
yeah.
too on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island Rays, Elm City made EZ BlueZ is in the building. Sam Hadelman is with us on Behind the Brand. Sam, what does New Haven have that New York does not have?
Just that familiarity. Like the Little B show, right? How I got into the Little B show. I used to, one of his producers, Greg Uptown Brown, he was on the varsity basketball team when I was in high school, and I was on JV. And like after school, I always was picked up late because my mom's a teacher, and I would be at the gym, and him and I would just shoot baskets in complete silence. Like we would just shoot baskets for 2 hours and not say a word. He was filthy. Greg was filthy.
Oh.
I was really all right. He was filthy. And he ended up producing for Lil B, and he did like he did a beat on the Lil B Chance the Rapper tape, and he was like, yo, pull up to the Lil B show. And I was like, okay, cool. Another example, another space I really like is The Space in Hampton. I like that spot a lot. I went to go see Alex G with my high school principal like 6 months ago.
Oh, wow.
My mom took me to go see Chesky because my mom and Chesky's mom have been like lifelong friends. And so one night, this is what I'm saying. Like, it's real hard for me to walk around and someone's not like, Sam. I'm not saying I'm like famous. I just have like, I also kind of look like my dad. And my mom texted me one night. She's like, man, Sam, are you going to come? We're going to a rap show tonight. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she was like, we're going to go see Chesky at the Space. And we go see Chesky, and sitting in the crowd is my high school principal. And my mom's like, goes up to me, and he's like, why do you give my son so many detentions? And I was like, Mom, no, he's cool. He's fine. Don't worry about it. And then I was like, hey, man, I love Alex G. I'm going to go see him in a couple weeks. Are you going to be there? And he's like, yeah, I'll be there. And we ended up going together. Like, you're not going to get that in New York. No. I love New York. I love New York too. Like, we even have our own flavor of club music. A lot of people don't know that. Like, we have our own flavor of club music because, Jersey club's coming up, Philly club's coming up. Like, Hartford has its own, even Bridgeport. There's this kid, you guys should look him up, Samar Foe. He's doing his own version of club music. What Snow was doing with Yank Rhythm, that was club music. We have our own flavor. Like, we're a lot more than John Mayer and Rivers Cuomo, two Connecticut locals, and Paul Giamatti.
Well, I think it's really awesome that you mentioned Chesky because there's about to be a huge spotlight on New Haven. Chesky's latest project, The Co-Defendants, which has been just playing in my playlist over upon over. I am massively obsessed with this record. And they're about to go on the big tours. They're going to be on No FX's last tour. Yeah. Do you know of Co-Defendants? Do you know?
The super group, right? Isn't he like
with Fat Mike from No Effect?
I saw that. I saw that in Rolling Stone.
Yeah, exactly. So now we this is the time. And this is a call out. I'm shouting out to all because we know that every single New Haven musician listens to this show. I know that for a fact because they bother me about it all the time. So this is the call out to them. Get your game ready. This is the time to make sure your show is the best show possible. Your songs are the best songs possible because it's very rare that a national spotlight is going to be blowing through your area. A national spotlight's about to blow through our area. This record is going to blow up and blow up huge. This is the time to get your ducks in a row and make yourself bulletproof and ride that lightning because it's going to get weird and I'm down for it.
Yeah, Chesky put on a crazy show. He had us all sit down and he went in the, because I go to I go see like Chief Keef. I'm like I'm a different flavor. You know what I mean? So when I pulled up and he's like, yo, sit down, I'm bringing my acoustic guitar. I was like, kumbaya, what's going on? Like, but it was awesome. It was sick. I would love to see, because New Haven has like little flashes in the pan, but because of that media market that you were talking about with Austin and New York, it's hard to document it. And if it's not documented, it just is word of mouth. Like, that's the problem, is that we've had hits. Like Ty and Mango had this song called Slums, and it was insane. It was like it's probably my favorite New Haven song ever. And it got big, but there was no place for it to get that stepping stone. Because why would New York cover Connecticut? Why would Boston cover Connecticut? You know what I mean? So you gotta have, it's a point where like you gotta have a local reporter who's down to go to like Ty's neighborhood, down to go to Mango's neighborhood, down to, that was also my thing. I never wanted people to have to come to me. I was like, I never wanted someone to be like, yeah, let's meet at Blue State Coffee and talk. I don't want to do that. That's good. That makes someone uncomfortable. Like that's a tip for like, if you're in music and you're just getting started, make sure that everybody's comfortable. Go to other people's neighborhoods, go to other people's, bring them to Sandra's or something. Like, shout out Sandra's. My mom also taught Miguel. So when I go in there, they're like, hey, how's your mom doing? You see what I'm saying? Like that's New Haven, is that like you get to establish roots and people know you, and you got people who really care. Like, do you mind if I run down a list of people who really care? Mercy Quay, Babs, Markeisha, Tom Breen, Nora Grace Flood. I don't know her personally, but her pens. You just have like all these people who like really give a word I can't say on the radio about New Haven.
Sugar honey iced tea.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't the one I was gonna pick. But you're not gonna get that anywhere else. I think the first time I moved to New York, the mistake I made was like not coming home enough. Like, and I think this time around, like I really want to make sure, like, hey, I stay as that, like, background figure. It's weird getting old. It's weird, like, you know what I mean? But I hope I answered your question.
Nah, you answered a lot of questions, but unfortunately, we only have a couple minutes time of this broadcast. We usually like to give this to you. Let anybody know anything you got coming up. Anybody who wants to go into a similar path as yours, Sam, please give any inspirational advice, and please give up that social media, that Instagram, that Twitter, any websites that you got going on, and go ahead, man. Start plugging. It's all you.
First off, I should have shouted out Harry, because I really would not be doing. I swear, I wouldn't be doing half the stuff I would be doing. Because my first gig was arguing with Harry.
Oh Lord! Oh God! He would love this.
Drive-by headlines.
That's his show. Yeah.
Because I'm a child. I'm like a child of. I'm like a first-gen immigrant. My mom immigrated. My dad's an old Jewish guy. Yeah. I was born to argue. I was born for it. Oh Lord. Yeah, you know what I mean. And I would see Harry just like rip people. It was sick. And I was like, and he was like, you should come on my show and argue with me. You got all these little opinions. And I was
would love it. Yes.
Yeah. And he'll tell you, I would, once in a while, I would smoke him like a swisher. You could ask him about it. At 19 years old, I was on it. And it taught me so much about like how to conceptualize issues and, debate and this radio stuff. Cause I actually had like a speech impediment growing up. I never thought I was going to be on the radio. Oh, I never thought about it. I had a really bad speech impediment. My first time like really feeling confident was, and also someone I should mention is Colin McEnroe from WNPR. I met him when I was like a teenager, and he was the only other person I knew who used Tidal. And he was like, Sam, what are the kids listening to? And I sent him Playboy Cardi. I was like, that's what the kids listen to. And he was like, this is cool. You should come by the studio and watch me do what I needed to do. And I was like, sick, cool. And I come in, and it was Tom Breen, Lucy, and I believe Mercy was there too. And he was like, hey, Sam, what do you know about the Imagine Dragons? And I was like, they are terrible. And he was like, you're going to be on the radio today. And I was like, cool. All right, yeah. And then he started booking me, and I do the Song of the Summer show for WNPR, where I pick the song of the summer. I'm cursed. I'm cursed. Every time I think it's going to be something and I doubt myself, I'm cursed. This year is FNF by Glorilla, and I couldn't say it on the radio, and there was the Song of the Summer, and I'm cursed. Like Colin McEnroe, for sure, one of the most influential
Mhm.
figures in my immediate career. So I'd like to talk about him. Obviously, I already said it, but Paul and Tom, I really could not think, and Lucy, Markeisha. I got to be at the independent at a real golden age where I got to see like a lot of people who really cared and were fantastic at their jobs. And because there's two ways to do media. You could either be like a shyster or you can be a real deal writer or journalist. You know what I mean? And like
Absolutely.
God bless, I was able to go to like the best local paper in America and watch these people like really do their thing and teach me, all right, these are the rules. This is how you got to do it. This is how you got to play it. And so, of course, shout out all of them, especially Paul and Tom. Man, Tom is the nicest person I've ever met. He had me on his movie podcast on WNHH back when he used to do that.
Yeah, I remember.
So I love movies. I love movies, and you wouldn't expect it. Like he'd have me and like an older gentleman on,
Right.
and we would talk about like some black and white movie, and you just wouldn't expect that. Like I like stuff like that, but I do. And like obviously Lucy, incredible. Mercy's like I don't think I've ever looked up to someone like Mercy. Babs is like a huge inspiration. She's got a nice porch. And yeah, it's shout out to Maya McFadden, man. One of the most talented people in New Haven. Plugging stuff I got coming up. Man, I got a really cool rollout for this guy who V's. He's from Detroit. He's the guy I was mentioning earlier. I don't think you guys read Pitchfork? We just did an interview. I was on the front page of Pitchfork twice this week with 2 interviews I set up.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, thank you. And
You're welcome.
the one that I did for V's was incredible. Some of the best journalism I've ever set up on the back end because I really do love media. I'm an old guy. I like read stuff.
Okay, define old. Okay, because I don't see any wrinkle. I don't see any gray hair. Define what is old to you. Define old. I don't think you've been 30 yet. Well, what's
no. I'm turning 26.
Okay, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't think you classified to say the O word anymore. You shouldn't.
He's pulling your old card. He's pulling your old card.
Right.
No, let me explain.
He's like, look here, son.
Yeah, let me explain. Like, cause my pops is like older.
Right.
I have like this part of me that's like a 60-year-old man.
Okay.
Like, I'm wearing dad jeans.
I got you.
And I'm like, I'm also a 16-year-old boy.
Physical. We're not talking mental.
Yeah,
we're talking physical.
Wow.
Yeah. No, I'm like a 60-year-old man and a 16-year-old boy all in the same body.
Okay,
like, you know
I got you.
I'm wearing an Allman Brothers tour T-shirt. You know what I mean?
There's nothing wrong with that. We got kids that wear AC/DC T-shirts and don't know what the band is or a song about them. So
you know what's funny? I love that bit. I wear great. There's nothing that makes my day more than seeing a rapper wear a Grateful Dead T-shirt.
Oh yeah,
I'm like,
definitely.
This is so sick. I wear Grateful Dead T-shirts. I don't like the Grateful Dead. I just think the T-shirts are cool.
They've got some great T-shirts, but then also I love when you see some of the genre blending because if you look at that Little Yachty record, is like one of the best Pink Floyd records that has been released recently.
And that's Pink Floyd karaoke. Yeah. But it's cool. Like whatever, he wants to do his thing. I'm trying to think what else I want to plug. Just like all the New Haven rappers, man. Like Ty Henney, Free Ty Henney. There's this little kid, Nine Money, who's like just getting a start, but he's really cool. Lee Bezel, Trello TL, obviously Snow. They're just Sholey. We could have mentioned Smartphone. There's a lot of cool cats. Just Fuego Bass from Hartford. He runs with Benny the Butcher. One of Benny's managers, Steve Starks, is a real cool guy, a good friend of mine. Like I could go on for hours, man.
How can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, don't forget that social media, man. Website.
Man.
Come on.
How can we reach Sam? Go ahead.
Facebook, Sam Hadelman, Hadelman. Instagram, sam.t.hadelman, where you can see my photography too, because I'm a film photographer. Twitter, if you want to follow me, samhat33. Listen, listen, I'm dead serious. If you are like a teenager, if you're 20, if you're 50, and you like want to write about music or help out the scene or do whatever, I promise all these little stupid tips live in my head rent free. They could go somewhere. I could, even if you're an artist and you're like, man, I don't know how to get put on. I know how to put you on, and I'll help you out. I can't help out like at a full capacity.
Right.
I could give you tips off rip, like how to make, mostly in rap, because I like everything else, but like I think rap's like a particular one because of obviously the politics of how media works and how landscapes work, and especially Connecticut. You need someone who will champion and go to your neighborhood and hang out and check out your records. So yeah, send me something too. I'll listen to whatever, man. Yeah,
Definitely, Sam. But we appreciate you, man. We know you have a busy lifestyle. We gotta respect that, and we don't want. And we got protocol. We gotta cut the cord. We got the Apollo curtain coming out. You know what I'm saying? We don't want Harry to attack us.
yeah.
No Harry attacks. No Harry attacks.
Yeah, tell Harry that I smoked him at 19 years old. Tell him that, please. From me. You got smoked.
You got it.
Pusher.
No problem.
We gotta have
cool.
a part 2 on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island Rays, Elm City made EZ Blues is in the building. Sam, thank you for being part of Behind the Brand. Appreciate you.
Yeah, of course.
Wondering what to write about, trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist, am I worth anything or just a scout? I don't know.